Good afternoon, everybody. Anthony Aniano here from RotoBaller Radio and RotoBaller.com with an early look at your fantasy football waiver wire for Week 16 of your fantasy football season. In most formats, the semifinal round of your fantasy playoffs. And congratulations, if you're still watching, that means you're still in it. You're one of the final four of your fantasy league, so kudos to you. So let's see what we got going on for Week 16. Now, as always, full disclosure, recording this Sunday before the Sunday night game, which means this week, 3 games still on the slate, the Sunday night matchup and the 2 Monday nighters, so obviously things can change. Other injuries can occur, so make sure you check the comments for any added players who may pop up due to injury that I recommend. No bye weeks in Week 16, so that's always good. Full slate of games here as we head down to the wire. We have Saturday action in Week 16 along with the Thursday night, so be ready to set those lineups early. As always, Yahoo roster percentages, trying to find players 50% or more available. Now, running through some injuries here in Week 15. The big one at quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, dealing with an ankle listed as week to week. Tony DeVito went out. Jameson Winston got benched. Will Levis got benched, so a little less with those guys. At running backs, Nick Chubb broke his foot, season over. Alvin Kamara left the game with a groin injury. Jalen Waddle at wide receiver left the game with a knee. Alec Pierce also left the game. And then at the tight end position, we had Evan Ingram later in the week, last week, being declared out for the season with a shoulder. We had David Njoku not play this week. And then Zach Ertz leaving the game for the Washington Commanders with a concussion. So, because of the Mahomes injury, I do have to mention a couple of quarterbacks to be mindful of in case you were reliant on Mahomes. And honestly, somehow, even with Mahomes, made it to the semifinals because he wasn't the Mahomes we've expected from seasons past. Nonetheless, Aaron Rodgers, 35% rostered, would be my top quarterback add if you needed it. He went 289 and 3 touchdowns, and he and Devontae Adams starting to click. Now, granted, some of that against that Jacksonville Jaguar defense, but Aaron Rodgers does have 60 fantasy points over his last 2 games in leagues that reward 6 points per passing touchdown. He had 36 points this week, and he has a good matchup against the Los Angeles Rams defense. Jets should be able to throw the ball. Adams and Garrett Wilson, too little too late, but have been productive of late. If he's not available, take a look in Dallas at Cooper Rush. 8% roster, 92% available. 214 yards and 3 touchdowns this week for the Cowboys quarterback against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has 5 touchdowns to 1 interception in his last 2 games. 25.1 fantasy points this week in that same 6-point per passing touchdown format. Dallas has an opportunity, I don't think they win the game, but to put up some points against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense in Week 16. At the running back position, the ads are obvious. You want to replace Nick Chubb, you want to replace Alvin Kamara, potentially. So that goes to Jerome Ford of the Cleveland Browns, back in a feature role now with Nick Chubb out. He's available in 58% of Yahoo formats. He went 7 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown against the Chiefs defense. Not easy to do. Also had 2 catches on 2 targets for 20 yards, 18 fantasy points, and a much better matchup on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals run defense. Also be mindful of Kendra Miller. We don't know what Alvin Kamara's status will be for Week 16, but Kendra Miller, if Kamara is out, will get a long look by the Saints coaching staff. He's available in 89% of Yahoo formats. After Kamara went down, he went 9 carries for 46 yards. He had 10 carries for 32 and a touchdown in Week 14 in his first real action of the season. So he was on the radar. Now, maybe in a more featured role at the Green Bay Packers next week are the New Orleans Saints, who almost pulled off the comeback this week against the Washington Commanders. Tyjae Spears and Ty Johnson, wanted to mention them real quick, coming off big games. I'm not highly recommending them. Why? Most of their action was in the passing game. They're not taking over a featured role. They were terrific in a PPR format this week. However, that role could prove to be inconsistent, and without teams on a bye, no need to necessarily add them. At the wide receiver position, if you're looking to make up for Jalen Waddle, take a look at Rashad Bateman of the Baltimore Ravens. Again, exploiting a terrible Giants team, but he is available in 75% of leagues. 3 catches, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was Lamar Jackson's favorite target throughout the game with 5 targets, 23 fantasy points. Fun game. This game, I believe, is on Saturday of next week as the Baltimore Ravens go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers with essentially the division on the line. And finally, at the tight end position, if you're scrambling late in the season because of Ingram, Njoku, Zach Ertz, whatever it may be, 2 young players to be mindful of. First is Brenton Strange of the Jacksonville Jaguars, taking over the role for Evan Ingram. He's available in 98% of leagues, and Mac Jones looked for him early and often in that game against the New York Jets. He was targeted 12 times by Mac Jones, 11 catches for 73 yards, 18.3 fantasy points for Brenton Strange, and a great matchup next week on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. If you are in need of a tight end, he is a must-add down the stretch. Put in a secondary big bid for Los Angeles Chargers tight end Stone Smart, available in 94% of leagues. Now, his production is contingent on Will Disley, another tight end I failed to mention, continuing to be out. Stone Smart, 5 catches for 50 yards on 6 targets, did lose a fumble, knocking him down to 8 fantasy points. He does have 16 fantasy points, however, in his last 2 games. The Chargers next week go up against the Denver Broncos. So to recap, my top ads for week 16 of your fantasy football season: quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Cooper Rush; running backs, Jerome Ford and Kendra Miller; wide receiver, Rashad Bateman; and at the tight end position, Brenton Strange and Stone Smart. As always, everybody, head over to RotoBaller.com right now. Sign up for any of our premium passes. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, NASCAR, PGA, you name it, RotoBaller.com has you covered. Sign up, use the promotional code ACES, and save at checkout. Download the RotoBaller app completely and totally free. Everything you see online right there in the palm of your hand, so make sure you take advantage of that. The player updates are fantastic. It's where I get all of my information, up-to-date information, injuries, baseball news now with the winter meetings, whatever it is you're looking for, the RotoBaller app has you covered. So take advantage of that. Don't download that now. And like and subscribe right here to the RotoBaller YouTube channel. Give me a follow on X at @Aniano Fantasy, and we will see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.